Journey with Judy.
Honest, open, transparent. It's hot.
There's no such thing as perfect people. There's no such thing as a perfect life. So come as you are, broken and scarred. Lift up your heart and be amazed and be changed by a perfect God.
Good morning. I don't mean to start off your Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl 46 Sunday, with me all crying and stuff. But that's just where I'm at this morning, because I realized this week that not only am I so broken, but we just live in a broken world. And my son was really broken. My son, Chan, I just knew the other day that something was up. I don't know why, call it mother's intuition. So I just pulled up in front of a school that he goes to. And within just a few minutes, he came walking out. I looked right at him and I knew that something was wrong. And you know that feeling like when you ask someone what's wrong, then they fall apart, like they wish that you never even asked? Well, that's how he was. And he said, "Mom, can you talk?" And he got in the car. And as soon as the door closed, his eyes filled with tears. And I even got that thing in my throat for him. And I was like, "What's up, buddy?" And it was once again that he was put in a situation that I'll call the CC, the Carter comparison. And this is not about the person who said this to him. This is about how we take things. So let me just clarify that. But someone made a comment to him to the effect of, "Why don't you dress like Carter?" And he turned around and he said, "Because I'm not Carter." And supposedly the response of that individual was, "You're right, and you never will be." Now, when my son told me that story, my first instinct was, "Oh, baby, come on." There's no way that he would say that, and there's no way he meant that the way you took it. Because as I've said 1,000 times, we see things as we are and not as they are. And I got to tell you, when it comes to my son, Chan, he has lived in the shadow of his brother for 15 years. And so I put on my parenting hat, and I had to remind him who he was. And I kept saying, "Baby, you are not called to walk in the same paths as Carter. You've been given different gifts and talents." And he just kept saying the same thing. "I don't measure up to. I don't measure up for. I don't fit in. I'll never be Carter." It just totally broke my heart. He was full of shame. And then that switched to some blame. And basically what he was saying to me is, "Mom, when I look in the mirror, all I see is who I don't want to be." My only response to him as he got back out of the car was, "Baby, it's your lie. You can tell it any way you want." Because somewhere along the line, Chandler has believed lies. And somehow he's lost sight of who he really is in the eyes of God. And so I had to give him the 4 agreement talk, which I'm going to give to you today, too. So you are listening to Journey with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. Stay tuned for all the things that I told Chan when we get back. Thanks. Thank you for choosing to Journey with Judy this Super Bowl Sunday. Thanks for starting your day with me. Okay, so I talked a little bit about my kid, Chan, and how he's struggling with these lies of who he really is, not only in his eyes, but the way he believes that people perceive him. I recently read a book, and that's what we're going to share today. I'm going to share with you. It's a book called The 4 Agreements. And basically, it's a journey back to the beginning when all was right with the world. And the question today is, are you lying to or trying to? Are you trying to embrace who you really are, who it is that God created you to be? Or are you finding yourself limited by beliefs that rob you of the joy and the love and create needless suffering? This book is really cool. It's basically, it's called The Art of Self-Mastery. And it's basically a code of conduct that requires, no, you don't even have to have any religious beliefs. I want you to go with me today, and I'll make it about God because that's just the way I roll. But the reality is if you choose to implement these 4 agreements into your life, it has transforming power. And those of us who have a faith system, who believe that we were created by God, then we got everything we need to know that that's the way it was supposed to be. Because Chan believed those lies. And those lies are just the process of the education that we've received through society, our parents, other people. And it distorted the lens for him, and it does for us, in the way that we view not only ourselves, most importantly ourselves, but definitely others and the world around us. So who are you? What are you believing? We make these agreements believing these lies. And most important, we believe them about ourselves. And so this book just basically says, like, you got to reclaim your true identity. And this personal power is deep within you if you just exercise and embrace what it is that is the truth. So no more lies. It's your lie. Tell it any way you want is our title today. If you apply these truths to your life, you're going to live the abundant life that God intended. Because, see, the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy. But God came that you would have life and you would have it to the fullest. And the fullest life, the most abundant life that God wants for you, and I know we want for us, is just living in the true freedom of who we really are. It's being totally hot, honest, open, and transparent. Authentic acceptance of me, myself, and I, me and myself, and you and yourself. But unfortunately, we see ourselves through the mirror that we agree with. What we've been told resonates so much deeper than what we really know. We got to act out of what we know and not what we feel. But what do you know? In terms of who are you and what you believe. Because you are who God says you are, not who others say you are. And this book says, most importantly, it's not even who you say you are. So let's embrace this guide to self-mastery. Stop lying and start trying to implement 4 simple things. Number 1, be impeccable with your words. We've talked about the power of the tongue, strongest muscle in the body, folks. We had to talk about it. If it's not nice, necessary, and true, then keep it to you. The word impeccable just means blameless, perfect. What story do you tell yourself, and what do you tell others? And is it even the truth? We have to take responsibility for who we are. No blaming. We do a lot of that in my house. I wouldn't if he didn't, and you shoulda, and if I didn't, all that stuff. That negative self-talking, it's a bad deal. We got to speak with integrity. We got to say what we mean and mean what we say. And life would be so much better. And, I live in a household where we're not super impeccable with our words, and we're really not big on the building up. We tend to do a little bit more tearing down. And so, I just set myself up to be complimented and to be affirmed. Like, for example, before I come down the stairs, I'll say to my man, baby, I'm coming down. Wait till you see how cute I am. Or I'll say, babe, don't I look great today? And he's convinced that nobody else says that to their spouse. But if I'm waiting for him to step into my space and be impeccable with his words, he's probably not going to do it. So I'm going to help him a little bit. And then when he's so not being, or my kids are so not being who I need them to be, I try to sit in the light of the truth with this. You know what? You're so awesome. You're so awesome no matter how you're acting, no matter how you're behaving. Because God says you're awesome no matter what. Because we perceive who we are, and then we believe that, and that becomes the story of our life. And that story, if it's the way God intended, sets us free every time. Or it holds us captive every time. We can never use words against ourselves or against others. That's all this thing means. It means we speak with integrity. We use the power that we have within our words in the direction of life and truth. And most importantly, love. I'm digging that. Totally digging that. How about number 2? Don't take anything personally. Love that. It's so not about you. Has anyone ever said that to you? It's not about you. And it really puts you in your place because it's not about you. What people say and do is almost never about us. Because they have these opinions that were simply formed based on their own education and their own experience. And when they differ from ours, like for some reason we feel like we have to take offense to it or impose our beliefs on them or defend why it is that we believe. And then it creates a conflict. All this transforming Four Agreements book is telling you is like, it doesn't matter. I'm so not taking that personally. Since I read this book, I can't tell you how many times out loud I speak. I'm so not taking that personally. And there's a verse in scripture that says love does not ever take offense. The problem is that when someone speaks something to us that we take personally, the problem isn't that they said it. It's that we actually believe it. Because in our virtual reality, we see ourselves through the story that we've created, through our own lies, in many cases. And that means it's distorted. You know, people listen to this show and they come back to me and tell me what they heard. It's amazing to me, the difference in what people hear. Sometimes I don't even know if I've even said what they heard. But that's the power of the human mind, and perception is reality. The world we see outside is the world that's inside us. I'm totally digging Paula Abdul. She got nixed from the X Factor. First of all, I love that show. And it says as clear as day on my MSN homepage this week, I am not taking that personally. Because it's not about her. It's about something bigger, something more. And if it's in the best interest of the big picture, then I'm stepping down. And that's her reality. And this isn't a tag day for Paula Abdul. I know nothing about her, so I'm just saying that she wasn't taking that personally. We choose to take so personally because of our emotions. We choose control in terms of the way we respond to what somebody says or does, or we lose control. Either way, it's not about you. Nothing other people do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own story. They're the main character in their story, just like we are in our story. And I got to tell you, when you become immune to the opinions and actions of other people, life is good. Life is so good. Because when you believe those lies, it's your lie. Tell it any way you want. And as I said, I live in a household where it's really hard to implement some of the things that I'm so willing to share with you because we're not so impeccable with our words, and sometimes it's super duper hard to not take things personally. So I'm going to tell you the 4 things that were said to me in my home. And when we get back, you can try to put the kid with the comment. How about this? You talked my ear off. Please just shoot me in the face. You're wrinkly and saggy. I'd rather poke needles in my eye. And all those things pertain to me and my interactions with them. So when we return, we'll talk about which kid said which comment and the other 2 agreements that we are going to make if we want to transform our lives and step into who it is that God wants us to be and have the abundant life that He came so we would have. You are listening to Journey with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. We'll be back. Welcome back. You are listening to Journey with Judy, and we're talking about these 4 agreements that are going to break the lies that we have been told So like the song says, we can just keep saying to God, tell me once again who I am to you, lest I forget that I belong to you. And you know, it's hard when you live with human beings. Like, life would be good if it was just me. But I got some kids who say things that I'm supposed to not take personally. I got some kids who say things that aren't so impeccable with their words, and they probably learned that from me, their mama, with the drama. Okay, so the kid who said you talked my ear off, Carter. The person who called me saggy and wrinkly, that would be Kennedy. Campbell says she'd rather poke needles in her eye than listen to me tell one more story. And Chandler says, just shoot me in the face. So there you have it. Do you see why it's difficult? Why I need to implement these 4 things in my life and say like Paula Abdul, I'm so not taking that personally. All right, number 3. Don't make assumptions. Didn't you remember learning that in school? You make an ass out of you and out of me. We make assumptions about everything. And that's not the bad part. The bad part is we swear that they're real. We actually believe that we know what other people are thinking, feeling, and believing, and why they're thinking, believing, and feeling it. Am I the only one? I'm thinking not. This book probably wouldn't have been a bestseller then. But it's really only our virtual reality that we're projecting. See, if we live in the truth, and let me reiterate our verse, the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy truth. I have come that you would have life and have it abundantly. That's living in the freedom of who you really are. And truth leads to authenticity. And when we lie to ourselves, it just leads to limitations. See, we got to have answers. We are a people who cannot just be like stagnant. We got to have answers, so we make them up. We tell ourselves lies and assume stuff. I'll give you an example. Last summer when I was having a hard time with my son Carter, I woke up in the middle of the night. He was gone. I freaked out. I had that boy run. I was assumed that he was already in another country by now. If not, he was dead and buried. For hours, I spun my wheels with every vain imagination you can possibly think of. And of course, Bob was not on board at all, but physically trying to be a presence of strength to me during that time. We called our friend who was a police officer. We had call out the dogs. He walked in the door at about 4 a.m. and just said, "Hey, Mom, I was just taking a walk." The reality was he was lying. He hooked up with that girl that I told you about a couple shows ago. But nonetheless, I made a lot of assumptions. And I created a lot of pain and suffering in that one instance that so didn't have to be my reality. Because assumptions cause us to do some stinking thinking. Those are my 12-step friends know what that means. Stinking thinking. It's rooted in lies. We believe that others are judging, blaming, and victimizing us. But really, it's just us doing it to us. So we tend to do it before they even do it to us first. We got to be hot with others, but more important, with ourselves. And we always got to do our best. Number 4, let's always do our best. You got to do what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and why you're supposed to do it. You know what it's all about? Just enjoying the journey and the destination with no agenda and no expectation. That's so not normal behavior for me. If I'm doing something for you, I got an expectation. I want you to appreciate it. I want you to acknowledge it. I want you to recognize it. I even probably want you to tell people about it. But that's not doing it with the right spirit. That's not doing my best because there's an agenda. And you know, your best on any given day is going to vary. You got a good day and you got a bad day, but you can always still do your best. And doing your best requires so much patience with yourself. But beyond that, it requires big-time purpose and big-time passion. Because it's just about giving yourself for the sake of love, not a reward. And knowing that if you be the change you want to see, you're going to transform your corner of the world every time. Because we are people who are acting out of what we know and not what we feel. And our mind is just this really powerful thing. And if we want to change the way we feel, then we got to change the way we think and start believing that we are who God says we are. In these 4 agreements, what you'll find is you are the common denominator. Because wherever you go, there you are. And we make a choice every day. Are we choosing to be part of the problem or choosing to be part of the solution? I don't know. You tell me. It's your lie. Tell it any way you want. You are listening to Journey with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. And thank you to the Cunis Country Auto Group. Greg Cunis, a shout out to you. We'll be back.
Tell me once again who I am to you, who I am to you. Tell me lest I forget.
Welcome back. And as we wrap it up today, I just want to tell you, do be impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and do always your best. There will be no more war in your head, but peace instead. Stay tuned for Life Matters, which is next with Nancy and Faith. And our special guest today is Monsignor Malloy from St. Francis de Sales Parish. And this week, keep it hot, honest, open, and transparent. Peace out.